For this lesson, we're talking about conversions, specifically about conversions in the customary units of measure. That refers to the units that we usually use within the United States. So that's talking about feet and inches, yards and miles. We have pounds, ounces, tons, cups, pints, quarts, and things like that. For this lesson, something that might be helpful is to kind of remember what I have written down here in the bottom left corner. As we're looking to convert, a helpful hint might be you take the value and you multiply it by a fraction, and the numerator of that fraction is going to be what you want, and in the denominator will be what you have. So we have a few problems here that we can look at. The first example we have is 18 feet is how many yards? The red line represents a blank. So for this problem, we're going to look at, well, my original value is 18 feet. In my problems, I always write my units, so there I left my feet, because it helps me keep track. And then after that, I'm going to multiply it. Let's take a look over towards our conversion charts. If I see that if I want to turn feet into yards, the thing that's going to help me is 1 yard equals 3 feet. So, again, I'm going to look down here at the bottom left corner. I'm going to say, okay, well, in the numerator, I need what I want. So what I want is yards. And in the denominator, I need what I have. And what I have is feet. So I need to put yards. Well, 1 yard equals 3 feet. So it's 1 yard. And that's going to go over 3 feet. Okay, from there I say, well, now I need to multiply. I could look across and could say, well, do 3 and 18 have common factors? Yes, they do. And another thing that might be helpful for some people, they like to have it in fraction form. So you could put that 1 in the denominator, because 18 over 1 is the same as 18. But again, let's look and we say, well, 3 and 18 have a common factor. Their common factor is 3. Well, 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 18 divided by 3 is 6. So this problem now becomes 6 times 1. 6 times 1 is 1. And our denominators would be 1 times 1, which we don't need to write that down because 6 divided by 1 will just be 6. From there, why I write my units in my problems is because then I can look across. And just like we looked at the 18 and the 3 to cancel out, I'm going to say, okay, well, the feet, it's across from feet. So I cancel those out. And that's a helpful way to remember and make sure I'm doing this properly. So for my solution, I should get 6 yards, because there are 6 yards in 18 feet. For my second problem, I have 2 pounds equals how many ounces? Well, one thing to notice is there are 2 things that are very similar. We have fluid ounces and ounces. So make sure that you're always working with the proper conversions. Now you shouldn't be able to find one that says this many pounds equals this many fluid ounces, but remember that those 2 things are different. So 2 pounds equals how many ounces? Well, 1 pound equals 16 ounces. So let's use this value times 1 over half. So my value is 2 pounds, and that's going to be multiplied by, well, what do I want? I want ounces, so that means it's going to be 16 ounces over, well, what I have. Well, what I have is pounds, and 16 ounces equals 1 pound. So again, I can put my 1 in the denominator. 2 times 16 is 32. Okay, 1 times 1 is, again, 1, so I don't need to write that. And those pounds are gone. It turns into 32 ounces. For number 3, this one starts to get a little more difficult because it's working with a decimal. But if we know how to multiply decimals, it should not be a problem. So let's start. We have 6.5 cups. So what I have is 6.5 cups. Okay. I look and I need to find cups and fluid ounces. That conversion is right here. 1 cup equals 8 fluid ounces. So I'm going to multiply, well, what I want is fluid ounces, so that's in the numerator. So 8 fluid ounces over, it is equal to 1 cup. Well, we can add our 1 to the denominator, and then we look across. There's going to be no cancellations because they're not going to have a common factor that we can simplify by. So what we just end up with is 6.5 times 8. And what we can do is, if you cannot do that mentally, we can do it off to the side, set up our multiplication problem. 8 times 5 is 40. Carry the 4. 8 times 6 is 48. Plus 4 is 52. We have one decimal place value, so we should end up with 52. So we have 52 as our answer. The cups cancel out, and we should end up with just fluid ounces. So our answer is 52 fluid ounces. For number 4, this one again could be considered a little more tricky because it has a fraction in it, but really all we're doing is we just need to multiply by that fraction. So I would want to have this as an improper fraction rather than a mixed number. So I'd do my strategy to find that. So 2 times 4 is 8, and then add that to the numerator. That makes it 11. So 11 over 4 quarts. And it's going to multiply by, well, let's look. I have quarts, and I want it in pints. Well, over here's our conversion. 1 quart equals 2 pints. So what do I want? I want pints. So pints needs to be in my numerator, so 2 pints. And quarts is in my denominator, 1 quart. Okay, from there I say, all right, can any of these cancel out? And looking across, 2 and 4 have a common denominator, or a common factor, and that is 2. So that becomes 1, this becomes 2. 11 times 1 is 11. 2 times 1 is 2. And this time, we're going to get an improper fraction, so we need to turn that improper fraction into a mixed number. That mixed number is 5 1/2. And then we look, the quarts is canceled out. It becomes 5 1/2 pint. So I write that in my problem. 5 1/2 is my answer. For number 5, I'm going to have 5,000 pounds equals how many tons? Well, I have 5,000 pounds. And I'm going to multiply that by, well, where's my conversion? 1 ton equals 2,000 pounds. So what I want is tons. That means tons is going in the numerator. So I have 1 ton over 2,000 pounds. Well, that's going to get me to, and we could look for a common factor. They have a common factor of 1,000. 1,000 will surely go into both of those. So I could cancel out and say, well, how many thousands is this? It's 2. How many thousands is this? It's 5. If we wanted our 1 in the denominator there, we could do that. That would simplify it up quite a bit. So we could have 5 times 1 is 5. 1 times 2 is 2, which is going to be 2 1/2 tons. Let's write that in our answer, 2 1/2. Now, for number 6, we have a word problem. Speed skiing takes place on a course that is 3/4 mile long. How many feet long is the course? Well, let's identify the important information here. This course is 3/4 mile long. The next important piece is how many feet long? So it's saying, all right, well, we have a course and it is 3/4 of a mile. I want to find it in feet. So I'm going to look and I'm going to say, okay, I'm looking for my conversion for miles and feet. I have 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. Well, I want feet, so feet needs to be in my numerator. So 5,280 feet over 1 mile. Well, we can look here and say, all right, do these have common factors to simplify? The answer would be yes, but you might not see that right away. So we're going to just multiply it out as if we don't see that. So 3 times 5,280 feet. Let's do that off to the side. 5,280 feet multiplied by 3. Ignore that line. That doesn't matter. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 8 is 24. Carry the 2. 3 times 2 is 6. Add 2. That's 8. 3 times 5 is 15. All right. So we have 15,840 over, well, 4 times 1 is 4. Miles canceled out, so it should be feet. Now, we need to do our division for this. Let's get this completed. So we're going to have 15,840 divided by 4. Well, 4 goes into 15 3 times. Minus 12. We get 3. Bring down our 8. Okay, that'll get us 9. Minus 36. We get 2. Bring down our 4. We get, from there, 6. Minus 24. And that should take care of it because this is a 0. So since this is going to bring down and get 0, we need to make sure, well, 4 goes into 0 0 times, so don't forget to add that 0. Okay? So our answer for this one should be 3,960 feet. And that completes our overview of conversions.